After he routed the forces of Maxentius at the Malvern Bridge, Constantine took over an empire that was increasingly complex. Bretons and all kinds of Celts up in Great Britain, in Gaul, the Goths and Visigoths in the Slav areas, all the way to the Middle East with all the various different tribes and peoples there, to North Africa with all different kinds of people there. So Constantine decided to deploy Occam's razor. I know Occam's razor wasn't called Occam's razor at that time, but Ptolemy had said basically the same thing. The best solution to a complex problem is the simplest solution. And Constantine's idea of Occam's razor was something he heard every place he had been to in the empire. Christos, Christ. Perhaps Christ can bring the empire together. And perhaps through Christ, Rome can live in peace. So here he was, a little more than 5 years after the battle at the Malvern Bridge, facing probably another crucial battle for the sake of the empire. This one was fought at Nicaea. You know what Nicaea was? We say the creed, the Nicene Creed that comes from Nicaea. Well, they had to get together again in about 60 years to deal with it and other questions. But Constantine called this council to deploy Occam's razor again, the simplest solution to a complex problem. And at that time, that solution was the Trinity. Simple. You know, they tell us in seminary, never preach on the Trinity. On Trinity Sunday, we give you all these wonderful lessons like God so loved the world. Preach on that, because the Trinity's so doggone confusing. That's because seminaries are made up of academics, and academics love to overthink things. When I meditate upon Trinity, the one message that flows out of Trinity is unity. Perfect community. Three as one. Psychologically, it plays out this way, and I probably said this before on a Trinity Sunday, but I don't know if you remember it or not. One by itself is unconscious, because it cannot know itself. Therefore, the other, or two, arises, and it has something upon which to reflect and begin to know itself. But in that reflection, recognizes a problem. There is separation. That separation can only be reconciled by the third. The third points to one. Maybe that's confusing, maybe not. But it is unity and perfect community. It was what the Empire of Rome needed, and it's what our world needs today. As Christians, we live out our Trinitarian faith when we recognize in each other, and not just in each other as Christians, but each other as human beings, the face of the one whom created us all. Christ brought us to the baptism of God, and the baptism of God is the dying vat of the sacred breath, the Holy Spirit, wherein all piebald colors become one. We have our differences among ourselves, but there is a unifying factor that holds us together in community. And the binding factor of community and Trinity is love. Things can blow communities apart. Nothing can blow a community welded together by love apart. because love calls us to the one. I think, considering Occam's razor, this idea is most succinctly stated in an ancient Sufi hymn from about the 15th century that's been somewhat modernized. Now, I won't read the whole thing to you. I'll just read the last verse. But it captures it for me. Many joys I've had and many nights alone. Countless past and countless futures are all gone. Every breath's a timeless moment to be known. Every face I see reminds me all is one. All is one forever. All is one. The Trinity. It's not terribly complex. The Trinity calls us to the moment of the timeless breath, wherein we see each other and see in each other that indelible stamp of God's own image.